Hi everyone, welcome to class. This is Ajay Shah. So this video session is going to be there on how to read NCERT books. And whenever someone starts preparing for UPSC, the very first thing that is suggested to him is to start with the NCERT books to make a very solid and strong foundation for civil services preparation. But again, I've seen that students have a lot of confusion, lot of doubts, and basically all doubts with respect to NCERT books are how to approach these NCERT books to extract maximum to gain maximum to qualify the examination. So let us start the class. So before we enter into the core reading of NCERT book, let us first understand what is the purpose of NCERTs and why NCERTs are so important. So the very first purpose of NCERT books are to arouse a kind of interest in you. So whenever someone starts preparing for UPSC, it has been seen that some people say I'm not having interest in polity or I'm not having interest in science or history and all. And that is why it is recommended that to arouse a kind of interest in you, to gain a kind of interest in you, you should start with the NCERT books. Now, why I am telling you this? Because whenever in the NCERT books, you find that there are a lot of substance, lot of stocks are there with respect to these cartoons, and then memes, some short stories, biographies, debates, activities, etc. They do not think that these stocks are going to waste your time, but ultimately the purpose of all these stocks which appear to be extra or which appear to be just useless is basically to arouse interest in you, and that is why all those things are very important. And that's why the first thing is that whenever you cover any of the NCERT book, do not miss anything. Read, in fact, commas, full stops, everything, and everything in the NCERT book is important. At least in the first reading, everything is important. In the subsequent reading, you can skip many stuffs. Now, second purpose of NCERT book is to gain conceptual clarity. Now, what is the meaning of conceptual clarity? The meaning of conceptual clarity is that whenever you will see any of the topic in NCERT book, then you'll find that the author starts with a definition. He tries to explain you as if you are a child. And whenever someone explains you by assuming that you are a child, that means you are there without any preoccupied knowledge, then naturally the flow of concept has more clarity and concepts are channelized in a very better sense. And that is why please understand that whenever some concepts are given in the NCERT book, please do remember that you have to extract maximum from those concepts. Now, third is to find out simple definition. So simple definition, that means when you will read, say you are reading polity, then you will find a very awesome definition of polity and a definition of constitution, definition of rights, liberties. Now these definitions are very important for two things. Number one, these are important for conceptual clarity, and number two, you can use these definitions in your mains examination. And that is why please be alert whenever a definition comes in your NCERT book. Now next topic is how to read NCERT books. Fine. The meaning is that how to approach NCERT book, that whenever you get an NCERT book, how basically you people should behave so that you can gain maximum from the NCERT books. So see, it doesn't matter who you are. You are a lawyer, you are already a doctorate, you are a doctor, whoever you are, please, whenever you start NCERT book, follow Socratic wisdom. What is Socratic wisdom? So Socrates says that I know nothing. That means a wise person like Socrates, a person with such a brilliant mind, believes that his knowledge is nothing what he is supposed to get from the world. And that's why you should keep in your mind while reading the NCERT books, be like a child. That means do not read NCERT books with any kind of preconceived notion, any kind of preoccupied definition, any kind of stereotypes, or any kind of pre-settled argument. Please read NCERT books as if you're reading the NCERT book for the first time. For example, when the term democracy comes to you, do not even think that you know anything about democracy. You only know that democracy is all about rule of public, and gain from that book itself what the author is trying to say about and about that democracy. By following this funda, you can have a very strong grip over the conceptual clarity. Now, next thing is Whenever you are reading NCERT books, please use highlighter. Fine, highlighter has to be used. Now, what you people should extract from the NCERT books, the very first thing is definition. Whenever you find a good definition, just make a note of that definition in the book itself. Then try to find concepts. Then try to find quotes. If you find quotes of Gandhiji, quotes of Nehru, Rabindranath Tagore, etc., then please take a note of that also. Then try to find the key argument. For example, if you are reading a chapter and in that chapter the author is trying to explain you about the criticism of constitution or criticism of directive principles of the state policy, then please take the note of the key argument that has been given in the that book, so that will enhance your knowledge base. Then look for technical words in the sense that you will find many words in the NCERT books which will fascinate you, or if or it doesn't fascinate you, then actually that word will be new for you, and that word will be used in some kind of that will be embedded in a concept. So please try to find the meaning of that word and take a note of that word also, because you have to use that word in your examination. Say for example, while studying judiciary, you find words like judicial activism, or you find words like judicial review, due process of law, or supremacy of constitution, supremacy of judiciary, then these words are basically technical words and you should make a stock of all the technical words. Then if there is any relevant facts or data, then please take a note of that thing also. Now, what is the meaning of relevant fact and data? Say for example, there is a sentence that during COVID-19, 9,000 people have died. So here COVID-19 is the relevant data. 9,000 people is very good data, but that is not relevant. Why that is not relevant? Because numbers in such precise terms are not so important for UPSC, and also you cannot recall these numbers, and that is why whenever you are extracting any fact or data from NCERT books, please remember that that should be relevant when you are writing the mains examination. Then whenever you will find that there is description of any important public figure, political figures, founding fathers, or the people who were members of Constituent Assembly, any famous philosopher, then again please take a note of that thing also. All right. So that's all up to here, and we can say a kind of basic approach. Now, in this particular class, we are going to see how we have to read the NCERT books. Now, when I say how we are going to read the NCERT books, it means that in this class, I am just going to read a particular chapter from the NCERT book, and when I will read this chapter, I will assume myself to be a student. That means I will not read this chapter as a teacher, but I am going to read this chapter as if I am a student, and for the first time I am reading this chapter. And please keep your mind open. Please use your intelligence that how I am going to read this chapter and how I am using my highlighter or how I am taking maximum from this chapter. So this is chapter 8, that is secularism, from political theory, class 11th NCERT. So let us start reading it. So let us go with the first paragraph. Now first paragraph says, when different cultures and communities exist within the same country, how should a democratic state ensure equality for each of them? This is a question that emerged in the previous chapter. In this chapter, we will try to see how the concept of secularism may be applied to the answer that concern. In India, the idea of secularism is ever present in public debates and discussions. Yet there is something very perplexing about the state of secularism in India. On the one hand, almost every politician swears by it, every political party professes to be secular. On the other hand, all kinds of anxieties and doubts beset secularism in India. Secularism is challenged not only by clerics and religious nationalists, but by some politicians, social activists, and even academics. So, by reading this first paragraph, the only thing that I can understand here is that secularism is a debatable issue, and it's a complicated issue, and we have to learn a lot about it. So, this particular paragraph, that is paragraph number 1, doesn't give much substance to me, but it gives an idea that secularism is a kind of debatable issue, or we can say secularism is a kind of complicated issue. And that is why in this paragraph, I am going to underline only one a word, that is uh, very perplexing about the state of secularism in India. That means the issue of secularism has doldrum, the issue of secularism has a kind of, we can say, apprehension also. Some people believe in secularism, some people also question secularism. That means we have to understand this meta ideology. This much only I can understand. So in the first paragraph, I am going to underline only this particular word. Now let us read the second paragraph. So from here I am reading. In this chapter, we will engage in the ongoing debate by asking the following questions. What is the meaning of secularism? Is secularism a Western implant on Indian soil? Is it suitable for societies where religion continues to exercise a strong influence on individual lives? Does secularism show partiality? Does it pamper minorities? Is secularism anti-religious? At the end of the chapter, you should be able to understand and appreciate the importance of secularism in democratic country like society like India, and learn something about its distinctiveness of Indian secularism. So here in this second paragraph, what I can get here, I can get here is that this particular chapter is going to answer some of questions with respect to secularism. And what question the chapter is going to answer, these questions are given here. But certainly the questions here are not important, but the answers of these questions might be important, that we will get to know after some time. But one thing is very certain, that I am not going to underline, highlight any of the points here. So in this entire paragraph, nothing appears to be important for me. Not, I would not use the word important, but I will use the word relevant from the examination point of view. All right. Then we will move to the next paragraph. So this is what is secularism, and since this is an headline, so I am going to underline this headline. All right, this headline will be underlined because what is secularism is important, not in the sense that I know what is the importance, but in the sense because it has been given in the heading. And if something is given in the heading of NCERT book, then that thing will have some kind of weightage. So even when you are not underlining, highlighting any of the word in the paragraph, at least highlight only the heading or subheadings. So let us read the paragraph. Okay, so the paragraph says, though Jews faced discrimination for centuries throughout Europe, in the present state of Israel, Arab minorities, both Christians and Muslims, are excluded from social, political, and economic benefit available to Jewish citizens. Subtle forms of discrimination also continue to persist against non-Christians in several parts of the Europe. The condition of religious minorities in neighboring states of Pakistan and Bengal has also generated considerable concern. Such examples remind us of continuing importance of secularism for the people and societies in today's world. So what can I extract from this paragraph? I can extract in this paragraph one thing, that religious discrimination is there in many parts of the world. This is there even in Israel. This is there in some of the European countries also, and this is there in Pakistan and Bangladesh also. So how I now, this fact is important, that discrimination is there, because I can quote this thing in my main answer writing. So how I am going to highlight this? So I will just see, I will highlight only the word discrimination here. So when I highlight the word discrimination, it shows that discrimination is there. Now where discrimination is there? Discrimination is there in Israel. Discrimination is there in several parts of Europe. Alright. Discrimination is there in Pakistan and Bangladesh also. So in this way, we will move now to my next paragraph. Now again, subheading is there. So please underline this word, interreligious domination. So does this interreligious domination appears to be a keyword to you? Of course, because it looks like a combination of word, it looks like package of word. So if a package of word is believed, why let us, for your better understanding, we can just write here K. Okay, what is the meaning of K? Meaning of K will be key term. That today while reading the NCERT, I have got a new term which is a very good term, that is called interreligious domination. Now I will move forward. So let us see this chapter. This paragraph. So the paragraph says, in our own country, the Constitution declares that every citizen has the right to live with freedom and dignity in any part of the country. Yet in reality, many forms of exclusion and discrimination continue to persist. Consider three most stark examples. More than 2,706 were massacred in Delhi and many other parts of the country in 1984. The families of the victims feel that guilty were not punished. Several thousands of Hindus Kashmiri Pandits have been forced to leave their home in Kashmir Valley. They have not been able to return to their homes for more than 2 decades. More than 1,000 persons, mostly Muslims, were massacred during post-Godra riots in Gujarat in 2002. The surviving members of many of these families could not go back to the villages which they lived. So, in this entire paragraph, all right, what is that thing that we can again gain here? So, now what I gain here, that Constitution of India declares that every Indian citizen has the right to live with freedom and dignity, but yet there are many things which are contrary to the provisions of Constitution, and there are three examples that has been given in this paragraph. So I will just underline here one thing. Constitution declares every Indian citizen has right to live with freedom and dignity. Okay, but here I will put three examples. So here examples we will write here Sikh, then I will underline massacred in Delhi 1984. All right, here Hindu Kashmiri Pandits, that's all. Here Muslims post Godra riots 2002. So can you see that I have just extracted few words in this entire paragraph, and when I will read the NCERT book once again, then simply by looking at these words I can understand. For example, say if I read only this word, that is Constitution declares every Indian citizen has right to live with freedom and dignity, then I will read these three words, that is Sikh massacre, Hindu Kashmiri Pandit exodus, and then here Muslims for post Godra riot. So by reading only these few words, I can understand the entire essence of this paragraph. Alright, so in this way we will have to read the NCERT books, where we will read everything also, and we will also underline or highlight the important things. Now let us read the second paragraph. So second paragraph says, what do these examples have in common? They all have to do with discrimination in one form or another. In each case, members of one community are targeted and victimized on the account of their religious identity. In other words, basic freedom of set of citizens are denied. Some might even say that these incidents are instances of religious persecution, and they reflect interreligious domination. So here, can you see that I can find a very good term here, and that word appears to be a package of words. That word appears to be a kind of very technical word. So I will underline this word again, religious persecution, and let us write here again any word you can use here. I am using K for technical word, so let us write here K. That means I found a technical word here. Okay, so religious persecution. All right. The next para says secularism is first and foremost doctrine that opposes all form of interreligious domination. This is, however, only one crucial aspect of the concept of secularism. An equally important dimension of secularism is its opposite to intrareligious domination. Let us get deeper into the issue. So, in this paragraph, can I find some good sentence? Yes, a very good sentence is there, because here I have found out a definition. And in the starting, I told you that from NCERT books, we will try to find out definitions. We will try to find out concepts. So which concept have you got here, or the definition? We have got a very wonderful definition here, that is Secularism is first and foremost a doctrine that opposes all such forms of interreligious domination. So can you see, my dear friends, that we have got a very simple definition of secularism, and this definition is very potent definition. But I'm not sure because this entire chapter is for secularism, so I might get some more definition in later part of my book. But here, at least I know that I have got one definition of secularism. That is, secularism is the first and foremost doctrine that opposes all forms of interreligious domination. Now let us go to the next paragraph. Now this paragraph is intra-religious domination. All right. So I will underline here intra-religious domination. Why I have underlined? Again, because it's a subheading, and again it appears to be a technical word to me. First technical word was inter-religious domination. This technical word is intra-religious domination. So I'm going to underline this also. Now let us see what this paragraph says. So let us read this. Some people believe that religion is merely the opium of masses, and that one day when basic needs of all are fulfilled and they lead a happy and contented life, religion will disappear. Such a view comes from an exaggerated sense of human potential. It is unlikely that human beings will ever be able to fully know the world and control it. We may be able to prolong our life, but will never become immortal. Disease can never be entirely eliminated, nor can we get rid of an element of accident and luck from our lives. Separation and loss are endemic to human condition, while large part of our suffering is man-made and hence eliminable. At least some of our suffering is not made by man. Religion, art, and philosophy are responses to such suffering. Secularism to accept this, and therefore it is not anti-religious. So what have you find in this entire paragraph? So by reading this entire paragraph, I could know only one thing, that the crux of this paragraph is that secularism accept to some extent religion also. Alright, secularism extend religion also. And here let us go back to our previous paragraph to understand again the meaning of secularism. Here the meaning of secularism is that secularism is a doctrine that opposes all forms of interreligious domination. That means here I have found out one feature of secularism. So can we name it number one? Alright, we can name it number one. Why again I am naming it number one? Because I have found here one feature, that secularism is against what? It's against interreligious domination. And then here in this paragraph, the author says that secularism too accepts this, and this is not anti-religious. So secularism is not anti-religious. This is my point number 2 for secularism. All right. So what is secularism? Secularism is against interreligious domination, and it is not anti-religious. Now let us read further paragraph. So, however, religion has its share of some deep-rooted problems. For example, one can hardly think of religion that treats its male and female members on an equal footing. In religions such as Hinduism, some sections have faced persistent discrimination. For example, Dalits have been barred from entering Hindu temples. In some parts of the country, Hindu women cannot enter temples. When religion is organized, it is frequently taken over by most conservative faction, which does not tolerate any dissent. Religious fundamentalism in parts of the US has become a big problem and endangers peace both within the country and outside. Many religions fragment into sects, which leads to frequent sectarian violence and persecution of dissenting minorities. So in this entire paragraph, what we can see, in this entire paragraph we can see that it speaks about some bad things within religion. Okay, so when the author is trying to explain you about religion, he has now given us one more aspect in this part, that is in this part, not this part, in the previous part. Here the author has given us example of massacre in which one community was being targeted, that means here Sikh, then Kashmiri Pandits, and here Muslims. But here in this paragraph which we just read, the author is trying to say that there can be discrimination within the same religion. So previously discrimination was there between two religions. But here I have got this idea by reading this paragraph that even if only one community is there, then also discrimination can be there. And this paragraph has told us about some deep rooted problem of religion. So I will highlight the problem, some deep rooted problem. What are the problems? So Dalits, all right, Dalits, persistent discrimination of Dalits. I will underline this. Then religious fundamentalism in parts of US. Then persecution of dissenting minorities. Alright, so by this paragraph, if I read only these highlighted terms, then I can find that there is some deep rooted problem. Now let us see here that I have only underlined some deep rooted problem. So let me underline this word also, religion, because now it will become more clear that religion has some deep rooted problem, that is persistent discrimination, that is Dalit, and then religious fundamentalism in part of US, and persecution of dissenting minorities. So here, dear friends, you have got one more keyword. Which is that keyword? This keyword is religious fundamentalism. So do you think that this word is a very good word and appears to be a technical word, a keyword? Let us write one more K here. You have find one more K, that keyword, that is religious fundamentalism. Where it is? It is in part of US. All right. Now let us read some more paragraph here. So then see this paragraph. It says, thus religious domination cannot be identified with only with interreligious domination. It takes another conspicuous form, namely intrareligious domination. As secularism is opposed to all forms of institutionalized religious domination, it challenges not merely interreligion but also intra-religious domination. So, dear friends, can you see we have found one more thing, one more feature of secularism in this part, and this is that secularism is opposed to all form of institutionalized religious domination. It challenges not merely interreligious but also interreligious domination. That is, we have found third feature of secularism here. Now wait a minute. If someone asks you uh, here only, or now while reading like a student, I will now revise my concept of secularism. So my mind says that secularism is a doctrine which is basically against interreligious domination and also interreligious domination. And this is also a concept which is not anti-religion. So in this way now I understood what is secularism. So as a student, again very quickly I will go back. All right, I will go back and again I will find the terms here. So secularism was there, so many discrimination is there throughout the world. Now interreligious domination, which has been proved by three examples of Muslims, Hindu and Sikhs. Then we can see that secularism is against such kind of interreligious domination. Then secularism is also against intra-religious domination, because within religion there can be many deep-rooted problems, like the problem of Dalit or religious fundamentalism in some parts of US, or persecution of dissenting minorities. So till now we have got a very comprehensive idea of this term that is called secularism. Now let us move further. So let us read this paragraph. So this paragraph says, we now possess a great idea of secularism. It is a normative doctrine which seeks to realize a secular society, that is, one devoid of either interreligious or intra-religious domination, but positively it promotes freedom within religion and equality between as well as within religions. With this large framework, let us now consider a narrower and more specific question, namely, what kind of a state is necessary to realize these goals? In other words, let us consider how a state committed to an ideal of secularism should relate to religion and religious communities. So, in this entire paragraph, I can see that I have found one very good word here, and this good word is normative doctrine. Okay, so this appears to be a keyword, normative doctrine. Secularism is a normative doctrine. By using this keyword, now I can again make a new definition of secularism. Let us see. Secularism is a normative doctrine which is against inter-religious domination, intra-religious domination, and it is also not anti-religion. All right. So in this entire paragraph, only one keyword is important, which I feel is important, and I will again use the word K here. K means keyword, normative doctrine. All right. Now we'll move to this part, and again we will highlight this secular state. Okay, secular state. Now let us see and read it. So it says, perhaps one way of preventing religious discrimination is to work together for mutual enlightenment. Education is the way of helping to change the mindset of people. Individual examples of sharing and mutual help can also contribute towards reducing prejudice and suspicion between communities. It is always inspiring to read stories of Hindus saving Muslims or Muslims saving Hindus in the midst of a deadly communal riot. But it is unlikely that mere education or goodness of some persons will eliminate religious discrimination. In modern societies, states have enormous public power. How they function is bound to make a crucial difference to the outcome of any struggle to create a society less ridden with interreligious conflict and religious discrimination. For this reason, we need to see what kind of a state is needed to prevent religious conflict and to promote religious harmony. So, what you can see here in this entire paragraph, the author has tried to arouse a kind of question, tried to arouse a kind of debate. The author is basically saying that what I understood by reading this paragraph, that education, reading stories, or promoting harmony and all, naturally all these things can promote secularism. But in modern democracy, the state has enormous power to push secularism, and state has a major role in promotion of secularism. And this paragraph only show to me that in further paragraphs the author will explain us how state is important in infusing secularism. So here I am just going to underline only one thing, that is uh, what kind of state is needed to prevent religious conflict and promote religious harmony. In this paragraph, I have also found one very good technical word here, that is prejudice. But being a student, say I am not able to understand the meaning of this prejudice. Now what will I do? I will simply find the meaning of this word in dictionary or online, and I will see that the meaning of prejudice is to look any community with some kind of prejudgment, like tribals are so, Muslims are so, Hindus are so, Americans are so. This is a prejudice mentality. So, what I will do, since I do not know the meaning of this word prejudice and I have taken the help of dictionary, so simply I will write here the meaning of this word, that is prejudice, in this box, and I will just write here that is having some prejudgmental mentality against a community or person. Alright. Now let us move further. Now let us read this part also. Let us do it, which says, list some of the ways in which you feel communal harmony could be promoted. Now these kind of activities you can even think, or you can skip this kind of let's do it, because it is not very important here. But again, if you are a fresher and you are reading the NCERT book for the first time, then you can even think about it, that what are your innovation by which you can promote communal harmony. Like what you will do, you will promote interdining, or you will form a kind of peace committee where all religion will be there, or you will form a different ministry, and the job of that ministry will be to enforce communal harmony. What will be your innovation? You can even think, and after thinking your innovation, you can even write these all innovations here in this part, that these are innovations that I have thought of. All right, so this you can do. So let us read further. So it says, how should a state prevent domination by any religious group? For a start, a state must not be run by heads of any particular religion. A state governed directly by a priestly order is called theocratic. Theocratic states such as papal states of Europe in medieval times, or in recent times the Taliban controlled state lacking separation between religious and political institutions, are known for their hierarchies and operations and reluctance to allow freedom of religion to members of other religious groups. If we value peace, freedom and equality, religious institutions and state institutions must be separated. So in this entire paragraph, what can we extract? So I'm extracting here one thing, that it shows us the meaning of, again, a technical word that is called theocratic state. Okay, so I will just underline first this word, theocratic state. Theocratic states. Okay, and it is also given example of theocratic states such as papal states of Europe, Taliban controlled. Say Afghanistan is going to be completely Taliban controlled in a few months. So now here this line is important. If we value peace and equality, religious institutions and state institutions must be separated. So by underlining only these few words, now I know that state should not be theocratic state. All right, but whether this is definition of secularism is not, that is not given in this paragraph, and so I will not draw any kind of conclusion. I will just read further to find if there is something more to explore in this chapter. So I'll move further. Some people think that separation of state and religion is sufficient for the existence of a secular state. This does not appear to be so. Many states which are non-theocratic continue to have a close alliance with a particular religion. For example, a state in England in the 16th century was not run by a priestly class but clearly favored Anglican Church and its members. England had established Anglican religion, which was official religion of the state. Today, Pakistan has an official state religion, namely Sunni Islam. Such regimes may leave little scope for internal dissent or religious equality. Now, what the second paragraph shows. Now, first paragraph was in first paragraph, author tried to explain us that in theocratic state like Taliban or papal states, there is very least chance of freedom. But second paragraph now says that even in non-theocratic state, there can be chances of suppression of freedom. And when it is possible, it is possible when state, even if a state is not theocratic, but a state has close alliance with her religion. Okay, and it has given the example of England of 16th century. So in this paragraph, I have got an idea that even non-theocratic country, uh, sorry, even non-theocratic country. Okay, there is some problem in underlining, so I will just use this. Just a minute. Yeah. So non-theocratic country, and here we will give the example of England in 16th century. Alright, and here we will write, underline this word, that is little scope for internal dissent or religious equality. Alright, now let us move further. Now further, the paragraph says, the chapter says to us that to be truly secular, a state must not only refuse to be theocratic, but also have no formal legal alliance with any religion. The separation of religion and state is, however, unnecessary, but not a sufficient ingredient of a secular state. A secular state must be committed to the principles and goals which are at least partly derived from non-religious resources. These ends should include peace, religious freedom, freedom from religiously grounded oppression, discrimination, and exclusion, as also interreligious and intra-religious equality. Let us see the gravity of this paragraph. So till now, whatever paragraphs we have covered in this book, this paragraph is a paragraph which is completely useful paragraph, and we cannot pick a single word, we cannot strike down a single word from this paragraph, because this entire paragraph explains to us what is the meaning of theocratic state. It says to us that theocratic state doesn't only secular state doesn't only mean non-theocratic state, but it also means that if a state is non-theocratic, it should have no formal alliance with any of the religion. And also, secular state is that state which provides peace, religious freedom, freedom from religious group operation, etc. And that is why I am going to underline this entire paragraph, because I believe this entire paragraph is important to me. Alright, now let us see the next paragraph. The next paragraph says, to promote these ends, the state must be separated from organized religion and its institutions for the sake of some of its values. However, there is no reason to suggest that this separation should take a particular form. In fact, nature and extent of separation may take different forms. Depending upon the specific values it is meant to promote, the way in which these values are spelled out, we will now consider two such conceptions: the mainstream Western conception, best represented by American state, and an alternative conception best exemplified by Indian state. So this paragraph tells us a very important crux. It tells to us that in previous paragraph, the author said that a state should not have any formal relation with any kind of religion. But this paragraph tells us that apart from having formal relation, that is important, but it also says that there is no form, shape, or type of that particular relation, that particular separation. And the paragraph says that it will now explain to us American model and Indian model, and it will try to explain to us how these two models have different shapes and types. So here I will underline only one thing, that is the nature and extent of separation may take different forms depending upon specific values. Alright, now let us read this particular column, that says let's debate. So what is it? It reads. It says that learning more about other religions is the first step towards learning to respect and accept other people and their beliefs. But that need not mean that we should not be able to stand up for what we feel are basic human values. Let's debate. So this is again not at all important for us. We will just read and we will not highlight this point. We will just move in our class. So now we will see what is the meaning of Western model of secularism. Western model of secularism. All right. So again, we will underline this headline: Western model of secularism. Let us see. Now it says all secular states have one thing in common: they are neither theocratic nor do they establish a religion. However, in most commonly prevalent conceptions, inspired mainly by American model, separation of religion and state is understood as mutual exclusion. The state will not intervene in the affairs of religion, and in the same manner, religion will not interfere in the affairs of state. Each now see this paragraph is this box is in between. We will not read this book, this box. We will now go further. We will read this box after reading this paragraph. Has a separate sphere of its own and independent jurisdiction. No policy of the state can have an exclusively religious rationale. No religious classification can be the basis of any public policy. If this happened, there is illegitimate intrusion of religion in the state. Similarly, the state cannot add any religious institution. It cannot give financial support to education institutions run by religious communities, nor can it hinder the activities of religious communities as long as they are within the broad limits set up by the law of the land. For example, if a religious institution forbids a woman from becoming a priest, then the state can do little about it. If a religious community excommunicates its dissenters, the state can only be a silent witness. In a particular religion, if a particular religion forbids the entry of some of its members in the sanctum of its temple, then the state has no option but to let the private matter rest exactly where it is. On this view, religion is a private matter and not a matter of state policy. This common conception interprets freedom and equality in an individualist manner. Liberty is the liberty of individuals. Equality is equality between individuals. There is no scope for India that a community has liberty to follow practices of its own choosing. There is a little scope for community-based rights or minority rights. The history of Western societies tells us why this is so. Except the presence of Jews, most Western societies were marked by a deal of religious homogeneity. Given this fact, they naturally focused on intra-religious domination, while while strict separation of the state from church is emphasized to realize, among other things, individual freedom, issues of interreligious and therefore of minority rights equality are often neglected. Finally, this form of mainstream secularism has no place for India. For idea of state-supported religious reforms. This feature follows directly from its understanding that separation of a state from church religion entails a relationship of mutual exclusion. This was a long paragraph, but why I read entire paragraph in one go? Because when I was reading this paragraph, I didn't find a particular idea, a very confined idea in any of the paragraph. In such paragraphs in which a heading has been written in a very long form, you people can read the entire that subtopic at one go. But here again you will have to come back to the first line because normally in such paragraph like such big paragraphs we cannot understand the entire topic, and that is why we'll have to revisit this paragraph again and again. So by now I will, whatever I have read as a student, I am going to recall whatever stuff that I studied just now in this long subtopic. So I got to know one thing, that Indian secularism is different from this Western model of secularism. Second thing I could notice here is that there is a kind of mutual exclusion relationship. That means church is at one hand and state is at other hand. I also got to know that in this case of secularism, if a religion will do some bad thing, for example, if religion doesn't allow a particular community to enter into the church or temple, then a state cannot do anything. But by reading this particular fact, I could recall one fact that I already know as a student, that I have read somewhere that In ancient India, it was a practice of not allowing Dalit community in the temple. And I also have this idea that now Dalits have the complete right to enter the temple. So what does it mean? In the very vague manner, I could notice one thing here, that Indian secularism is different from Western secularism, and both have different idea. Alright. So here in this particular long paragraph, now I will underline few things again. That is, first I will underline here American model. Then separation of religion and state is mutual exclusion. Then again here I will underline this line also. The state will not intervene in the affairs of religion, and religion will also not interfere in the affairs of the state. Then I will go to this line also, that religious classification can no religious classification can be the basis of public policy, and no public policy of the state can have exclusive religious rationale. Then again I will underline here also, a state cannot aid any religious institution. It cannot give any financial support to educational institutions. Alright, here if a religious community excommunicates a dissenter, the state can only be a silent witness. Religion is a private matter and not a matter of public law or policy. Alright, now I will also underline and I will also extract one particular concept from this paragraph. What is that concept? According to author in this concept, now I learn that in Western society, liberty or freedom is all about individuality, and they rarely talk about freedom of a particular community, unlike India. For example, in India, people often say freedom of women, freedom of scheduled caste, freedom of scheduled tribe. But here I have learned that in Western society, freedom is like more concerned with individuality and not concerned with community as a whole. So here I will underline this word also, this line also. Liberty is liberty of individuals. Okay. Now this fact is not very important because it simply tried to explain the rationale, which is not important. Now here I will also underline this point, that this form of mainstream secularism has no place for idea of state-supported religious reforms, and this feature follows directly from its understanding that separation of the state from church or religion entails a relationship of mutual relationship. Alright. Now let us find what was given in this box. Okay. So this box speaks about Kemal Ataturk secularism. Kemal Ataturk secularism. Now, I do not know who this Kemal Ataturk is. Alright. So if I do not know who this person is, Kemal Ataturk, I will again search this name on Google. By searching this name on Google, again I will get to know that Kemal Ataturk is a person who has a relation with Turkey. Okay. Now I will not go much deeper while searching this person on Wikipedia, because I just wanted to have a kind of vague idea about this person. So just one line of biography will be sufficient for me, and I will not enter into kind of research. So whatever thing that I will find about this person, Kemal Ataturk, I will write simply about this person what I found on internet here, that he was so and so from so and so place. Whatever small thing that I will find, I am going to write this thing here in this box. Now let us read this box. What does it say? Says, so it says, let us look at the very different kind of secularism practiced in Turkey in the first half of 20th century. This secularism was not about principal disdains from organized religion. Instead, it involved active intervention in and suppression of religion. This version of secularism was propounded and practiced by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. He came to power after the First World War. He was determined to put an end to the institution of Khalifa in public life of Turkey. Ataturk was convinced that only a clear break with traditional thinking and expression could elevate Turkey from the sorry state it was in. He set out in an aggressive manner to modernize and secularize Turkey. Ataturk changed his own name from Mustafa Kemal Pasha to Kemal Ataturk. Ataturk translates as father of Turks. The fez, a traditional cap worn by Muslims, was also banned by hat law. Western clothing was encouraged for men and women. The Western Gregorian calendar replaced traditional Turkish calendar. In 1928, the new Turkish alphabet in a modified Latin word was adopted. Can you imagine a secularism that does not give you freedom to keep the name you identified with, wear the dress you are used to, change the language you communicate in? In what ways do you think that Ataturk secularism is different from that of Indian secularism? So, dear friends, in this entire box, what is that thing that you could extract here? So, you might have extracted one thing here, that this person, that is Kemal Ataturk, he is propounding a secularism which appears to be totally different what we have studied till now. Because till now we have seen one thing, that secularism is against intra-religious domination and also inter-religious domination. Secularism is also not anti-religion. Secularism protects peace, freedom, and it respects even the dissenter. It doesn't believe in silencing the dissenting minorities or silencing the dissenting voice. But here in this particular example, Kemal Ataturk is doing everything that till now we have studied about secularism. But it's still, the author writes here that this was secularism of Kemal Ataturk. So here, one thing we have found, that in the starting, when we started this chapter, there was a word that secularism is a perplexing concept that is a very complicated concept, appears to be very true. And secularism again appears to be very different in Turkey. Now here, in this entire paragraph, we will not underline anything. Why we are not underlining anything? Because it's a kind of a story, it's a kind of version of Kemal Ataturk. And by reading the syllabus, I know that I do not have to read so much about internal affairs of other countries, because in polity, my syllabus is Indian polity. But again, I will not entirely neglect this part. I will just underline this word only, Kemal Ataturk secularism. And whenever I will read this NCERT book again, and whenever I will find the word, that this word that is Kemal Ataturk, simply by reading this word, I will be able to recall everything, that his secularism was totally against what we understand to be the normal definition of secularism. Now we will move ahead. So now we will see that what is the view of Nehru on secularism. Now, view of Nehru on secularism is exceptionally important. Why exceptionally important? Because Nehru was first Prime Minister of India, and secularism is an adopted philosophy in Indian Constitution. And since Indian Constitution speaks that India is a secular country, it is very important to know what was the view of Nehru on secularism. Let us read this. Equal protection by state to all religions. This is how Nehru responded when a student asked him to spell out what secularism meant in independent India. He wanted a secular state to be one that protects all the religions, but does not favor one at the expense of other, and does not itself adopt any religion at the state religion. Nehru was the philosopher of Indian secularism. Nehru did not practice any religion nor he believed in God, but he himself but for him secularism did not mean hostility to religion. In the same sense, Nehru was very different from Ataturk in Turkey. At the same time, Nehru was not in favor of complete separation between religion and state. A secular state can interfere in matters of religion to bring about social reform. Nehru himself played a key role in enacting law abolishing caste discrimination, dowry and sati, and extending legal rights and social freedom to Indian women. While Nehru was prepared to be flexible on many counts, there was one thing which he was always firm and uncompromising. Secularism for him meant a complete opposition to communalism of all kinds. Nehru was practically severe in his criticism of communalism of majority community, which posed a threat to national unity. Secularism for him was not only a matter of principles, it was also the only guarantee of unity and integrity of India. So, can you see here that Nehru has explained secularism at a very deep level, and we will just underline the views of Nehru. Why I am underlining the views of Nehru, I already explained you, and this can be very useful when we will write the answer of mains examination. So I will just underline the view of Nehru very quickly here. So equal protection by state to all religion. That is the first thing he said. Then protects religion but does not favor one at the expense of others and does not itself adopt any religion of state. All right. Then what he says again, we'll underline this also. Nehru was very different from Ataturk in Turkey, not in favor of complete separation between state and religion. A secular state can interfere in matters of religion to bring about social reforms. Okay, and here we will also write secularism for him complete opposition to communalism of all kinds. Secularism for him was not only a matter of principles but it was also a matter of guarantee of unity and integrity in of India. So I am very sure that till now you people must have got the idea that how we are going to read NCERT books. Okay, so in the same way which how I read, you are going to read this NCERT book. Now let us see this cartoon. So I told in the starting that we will also read the cartoon to get an idea. So let us read what this cartoon says. Do you remember the heated debate in France over the French government's decisions to ban the uses of religious markers like turbans and veils in the education institutions? Yes, I remember. Isn't it strange that both India and France are secular, but in India there is no provision on wearing or displaying such religion markers in public institutions? That is because the ideal of secularism envisaged in India is different from that of France. So see in this cartoon also what idea we can take. The idea we can take is that France is also secular, India is also secular. But secularism of France is different from that of India. Just to take note of this point, we can simply underline here again French government decision to turbans and wheels, okay, here, and then we will write here ideals of secularism in India is different from that of France. So in similar way, we will read everything that is given here in further parts of the chapter. Now we will also read this type of thing also, that what is given here. Let us think. So let us think what is given here. Is secularism compatible with following? Subsidizing a pilgrimage for the minority community, performing religious rituals in government offices. Now, these type of questions given in NCERT books, they basically try to arouse a kind of critical reasoning in you. For example, in this case also, like for this part, subsidizing a pilgrimage for a minority community, is it a secularism? So by reading this, we will recall again what was the saying of Jawaharlal Nehru, that what is secularism in India? In India, what kind of a state is there? A state will not make any kind of discrimination. State will interfere in religion. State will support the religion, but state will not make discrimination. So what you will answer to this question, that yes, providing subsidy to pilgrimage is a kind of secularism, but the only thing is that it should not be to appease the minority, or it should not be in a kind to make discrimination among minority and majority. All right. Then, for example, this part, watch films like Bombay and Garam Hawa. What ideals of secularism do you deposit? So again, it's up to you. If you are having some time, if you want to just burst your stress in free time, then you can watch these movies. Then again, read a story name in the Forsaken Paradise. Stories from Ladakh. Again, this is a very tedious job because you have so many books. So again, you'll not. Again, criticism of Indian secularism. Similarly, we will read all paragraph one by one. We will underline the important points, important keywords. Okay. Say for example this part. Now the chapter is over. Okay. Now let us see if NCERT gives you anything in the last chapter. So here NCERT has simply given this list of gazette holidays of India. Okay. And the author wants to ask a question to yourself, that what kind of secularism is there in India? It's secularism. So by following this, you will find that Republic Day, again it's a secular festival. Mahashivratri for Hindus, Mahavir Jayanti, Jains, Christians, Buddh, Muslims, Mahatma Gandhi, secular festival. So what Guru Nanak birthday is Sikh. So it shows that India has adopted that kind of secularism in which state is secular because the state is celebrating Republic Day, Mahatma Gandhi. On the other hand, the state is also supporting religion by giving holidays on this religious festival. But the state is not making any kind of discrimination because the state has given its space to all kind of religion, and that is why we can say that India is a secular state. Let us move further. So in these exercises again, you can solve this question, but please do not sink in the question. Just to have a kind of look, you can read these questions, and it is not an advisable idea that you should read the entire question. You should start writing the answers, because after reading NCERT books, you will get standard books, you will get some coaching material, some resources. You will have to join some test series in the future. So as far as this answer writing practice is concerned, you will get a lot of resources in the future to develop the skill of answer writing. There is nothing to worry here, and to it will not be an investment, but it will be wastage of time if you start attempting the question of NCERTs by writing and all right. See here, again we have got this thing, that is difference between Western secularism and Indian secularism. Okay, you can read this part. Here we have to basically separate this thing, so you can use your mind brain here, but again it is not very mandatory. It's up to you. If you think that you want to read even secularism in more deeper, then you can go through it. Otherwise there is no requirement to read this. So that's all in this class. So I hope people that you have understood the chapter, this approach how to read NCERTs. Now one more thing, students, that whenever we read NCERT book, please always keep in your mind what is the purpose of reading the NCERT book. And also keep in mind one thing, that when you are highlighting NCERT books, then you are highlighting or taking notes in some kind of book itself. That is not the final thing, because again you will have to revise the NCERTs multiple times. So whenever you will read the NCERTs, you will get a new perspective. So thank you very much. We'll see you in the next class.